Still here, where's a toy, mate? And I'm just going to go on stage and sing about coming blood. But it's...
Yeah.
Some guests are serious, some are really funny. What are you waiting for? Come and get this honey. It's absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Join the hype, like and subscribe.
Okay, hello. Welcome to Absolute Bedlam Podcast. About 3.5, maybe 4 years ago, we spoke last, and it was all audio. And since then, we've probably met each other 15, 16 times in the physical world.
Well, that's actually pretty good for me at the moment, as it goes.
we are actually friends in the real world.
Yeah, look at us go.
Unlike some of my guests who Zoom and Ghost.
I suppose there is that.
Like Scott from Cancer Bats.
Well, if only, you know.
He wants to come back on. Yeah. But yeah, tonight we've got Ross from Rossco and Co.
Yes.
Singer, songwriter, drummer. Nice chap.
Yeah, apparently so.
And the only question I've really got written down at the moment is how's it going?
How's it going? Pretty good.
This is meant to last an hour, this question.
Well, okay. Well, that was the end of it. No. I mean, I've been facing the usual melancholy in the winter period. I miss the summer so much. I can't wait for the weather to get better. And I always feel so demotivated this time of year.
Yeah.
So it's going to be nice to get back to that. However, despite all of that, I'm kind of carving through it as it goes, keep moving forward. And I think things are looking rather bright in the near future, so I'm quite excited.
In terms of like December hangover with stuff that you sort of said, oh, that's a January problem. Musically, I mean, like how much has spilt over into 2026?
All of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was quite a bit of Rossco and Co stuff that we were getting on the go by the end of last year, and then we kind of sort of delayed a bit of it, and then a lot of other complicated things happened. Like I said, the winter frizzle, the winter the winter misery that often accompanies me was very rife this year.
Yeah.
So I mean, don't get me wrong, Christmas was great. It was a great time with my family and everything. But outside of that, I took my downtime very seriously, and I kind of haven't really dedicated much time to any of my musical endeavours for the whole month of December, really. So it's all been pushed to now.
Did you find on like the 26th or the 27th of December that you got ill?
Yeah, I did actually.
No,
it was just before. It was actually just before Christmas. I had a pretty nasty bug, and then I kind of had a bit of a sort of cold and flu-y thing towards the end of December, but still managed to nail Christmas and New Year's all right.
Because December, it feels like you're skipping on these stones, like it's Keshi's Castle-esque, and you literally cannot fall into the water because you've got so much to do.
Yeah.
You've got your family, you've got your children, you've got gifts. And I find, like, when I hit, like, the 28th of December, I'm fucked. I'm completely fatigued, and I'm no use to anyone. But, like, January hits, and you can actually, like, breathe.
Yeah.
And then you can start scheduling guests and booking gigs. And
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so it's very much like that for me. So I've been working 7 jobs, as it were, for the majority. And with some of the new endeavours that are coming in, I'm now narrowing that down to 4, which still seems insane, really.
Yeah.
But at least there's going to be some sort of weights off of my shoulders as it goes going into this new year.
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't really have much time for anything in my social circle, and every bit of downtime I had last year was solely spent on recovering most of the time, so I kind of shut myself off a lot. So I'm hoping to bring back a lot of the social element of my life this year, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think I've asked you this before, but I'm going to ask it again just because there's going to be new people watching this, and this is going to be a video episode as well. Ooh. So how did you find school life, and can you remember any naughty things that happened in school that involved you or someone else?
Well, I mean, my face in the fists of many people in my year was definitely things that I remember from school. The bullying scenario at school was pretty hardcore, and I just kind of let it happen because I was very unconfrontational, although I feel that my sarcasm also got me hit a lot more than I needed to.
Can relate.
Yeah.
Yep.
But But yeah, generally, school life wasn't fun for me. I felt that a lot of my experiences in school actually stunted me socially, and I didn't actually get any sort of social development until I'd actually left school. And so that whole time was just really kind of pretty hardcore survival mode for the majority of it. I mostly acknowledged my days going in there as sort of like, I'm just going to go in for a beating. And once the teachers had finished beating me, the students would then
Jesus Christ. This is a whistle-blowing podcast now.
No, yeah, school was shit. I can't. Yeah, I don't envy it for anyone who's going through anything similar either. It was definitely, like I say, survival mode for that entire 5 years, really. But so yeah, the only things I really remember is just surviving, just keep moving forward, and my attendance was still 100% despite all of that. I managed to carve through it and power through it, but yeah, it did end up in me taking a year out between school and college to actually get my mental state together before I moved on in the academic world.
Can you imagine how difficult it must be now compared to pre-internet?
Well,
where
I mean,
actually when you leave school, the group chat just starts pinging.
Yeah, and this is it.
And everyone's now chronically online and connected all the time.
Well, yeah, it's something that I've actively acknowledged over the last couple of years, really, especially in a lot of the youth work that I do and everything, is that we are experiencing a brand new wave of human beings that don't know a life without the internet.
Yeah.
So much of it, and I mean, technology's really, really going on another level, and I feel that now everyone that's being born now are going to be the we don't know life outside of AI generation, and it's going to go up another level again, and I do wonder what that's going to do to the actual cognitive behaviour of the human beings that we're going to be experiencing in the next few years.
Yeah, definitely. A brave new world, and the idea that you have to explain to kids that like Deliveroo didn't exist. and barrel bikes.
Well, you know,
convenience
Instagram and Snapchat
is so abundant now, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's like I say, a whole new world.
So in terms of naughty things at school, just quickly looping back, was there anything that was crazy at your school that you still remember?
A few things, to be honest. Like I say, the beatings were hard, but not just for me, but for others. And I remember there was this one time where the two toughest kids in our year actually fell out with each other, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is the one! They're gonna beat each other!" And
Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, and everyone was so happy for it to be happening because it was finally not, us. It was not. It's finally these two guys that have been doing this to other people for so long have finally turned on each other.
Yeah.
And Royal Manor had this lovely design where they had like these stone walls with tiny little stones in the walls, and these stones were well spiky and everything. And these two guys that were like muscled and abbed up for their age, and they were physically smashing each other's heads off of this wall. There was so much blood, and it was the only time I'd ever seen the teachers physically get involved to remove people from each other, and it was absolutely brutal. But a lot of that, but a lot of my year group ended up sort of spending lots of time in behind bars and stuff like that. So I mean, it was hardly something that was surprising after that.
So I imagine the people that made that wall that everyone knows about, they made a big amount of money, I reckon, and they had like a lot of orders, and then never again.
Yeah.
Because the amount of emails and complaints that wall must have generated,
I don't know,
where everyone's like scraping each other's like faces off.
This is it. Yeah, well, Royal Manor itself has been knocked down now. The building doesn't exist anymore. So, but I don't know how many other buildings might have existed with a similar design. But it definitely wasn't ideal, that's for sure.
Hopefully, the wall isn't standing anymore. It's just just vertically standing still after all this time.
Just didn't want to remove the bloodstains, so just left it.
So, slightly more musical question.
Huzzah.
This is a bit of an open one, so feel free to spend as much time on it as you want. Okay. But as time has gone on, how much now does music mean to you? And do you strive to play music within some capacity at least once a day now that it's potentially becoming a bit more of a hobby? like more than a hobby, sorry, for you.
Got you. Yeah, so to be honest, this year I'm hoping that music will be the defining part of my sort of like career and the things that I do for work. I'm embarking on a very large theatre tour with Copacabana Magic, and as a result, I'm getting back into drumming a lot, which is my instrument that I do by trade. It's my strongest instrument, so it's something that I'm excited to get back and doing again. But yeah, I mean, so the idea really is that music will be the defining factor of my day-to-day life, and more important than it ever really has been before now. Before, I was kind of treating it more of as a hobby because I didn't want it to overtake as a career if it wasn't really making much, especially in my original music, because you know how
experimental,
exactly,
avant-garde.
Yes,
that's
quite.
what people say, isn't it? When people don't know what genre stuff is.
Yeah, exactly. So so it's a bit more of that. I'm moving into the career side of that. And because I've now learnt a lot more instruments for the Rossco and Co album, for example, I played every instrument at least once on the album, particularly bass, drums, and vocals. Obviously, I did for every song. And so this gives me an awesome opportunity now with narrowing my 7 jobs down to 4. Hopefully I'll have more time for it, but I basically have a decent setup at home now where I can have a noodle on a guitar, keyboard, bass or drums, and do that on a daily and keep building on some music-based practices for the rest of my career now.
Yeah, cool. So there's going to be a bit of a switch this year in terms of, is drumming going to be how you make money?
Yes. Exactly that.
That's the dream, isn't it?
Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, being a musician and being paid is definitely something that seems to still be, with all this inflation, something that hasn't moved much in years. It seems like a lot of cover bands and stuff, like locally, are still charging the same amount they were 20 years ago, despite all the inflation that's kind of slapped out over the years. And session musicians are still charging the same, or like the Musicians Union still recommending that they being paid a similar amount of money that they always used to, and I just think that's an interesting sort of way of the but we've got a really good contract with the Copacabana Magic crew. The management there are really good. They want their performers to be dedicated to their cause, so they are sorting us out pretty well, to be honest, as far as our contracts are concerned, and we've got some really good options for transport up to all of the venues and stuff, so that's going to save a lot of personal funds that some other companies might not necessarily do for their session musicians, which is
so it's
really
a Barry Manilow tribute band that you're going to be
correct
in,
yes, so we're tributing Barry Manilow, and we're taking it across the whole UK for this year, and hopefully further afield in future years.
So I've heard a little bit about cover and tribute bands recently where, like, I don't know about, like, if you remember this, but I remember this very well. The Rum Shack, Desert Rose, we used to get paid £350 cash.
Yes.
And we'd divvy it up between 5 of us, and occasionally we'd bring our own soundman. Apparently now everything's getting so centralised that everything's being, like, baxed paid. And there's no cash anymore, because obviously there's a sense of like money laundering and like
absolutely,
HMRC want a piece.
Oh, don't they just?
So is that the case now, where like you sign up to like an agency and eventually in like 5 or 6 weeks you actually get paid digitally versus getting a cut?
Yes. So for my I'm not sure about obviously like that of the cover band scene at the moment, because I'm not that actively involved in it in the same way I am with originals or with this tribute act. But my contract with the tribute act is that I invoice them and then they'll pay me into my bank account, kind of thing. So but I think I think they were talking about that turnaround being 2 weeks, which I mean, for a lot of invoicing it could be a month, and for a lot of my other self-employment that I've done over the years, I mean, it has been an average of a month before I see any of the money, which can be difficult when you're just starting a project and you've got a budget kind of for it.
And you've got rent and bills and car and fuel
and you're moving
life
from one career to another. Like I say, I'm going down from 7 jobs to 4, so there's going to be a month lull where I go from stopping this job, starting this next one and invoicing for it, and then when I get the money it's going to be a further down the line again, so I've got to make sure I'm careful over the next couple of months before it starts kind of coming in,
So we need to start saying no to Matty Bowditch, going to all these gigs he's constantly telling us to come to.
The adventures are great, but the financial situation isn't for now.
So just quickly, because I think I'm doing myself a disservice if I don't ask this now, what 4 jobs, without obviously confidential information, what 4 jobs are you actively doing now then?
Cool. So a
compared to the 7?
self-employed musician is the first and foremost for this year, and that covers my time with Copacabana Magic, but also the things I do with Rossco and Co.
Yep.
And then I'm leaving a few other places like the Cove House Inn and Weymouth College. I'm not working at either of those places going forward. However, I will still be maintaining my youth work projects, which are just a few hours in an evening as a youth worker. So Dorchester Youth Club, Steps Club for young people, and the Drop In on Portland.
Okay.
And because it's just still very casual in my timings, they're on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. So that all of the gigs for Copacabana Magic are on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So it's kind of working quite nicely there. And I don't do every week on any of the jobs, so I've got plenty of downtime scheduled throughout the year.
Okay.
And the youth work that I do often revolves around music, specialising in music. So I still get to keep on top of that, helping shape the next generation of musicians in our local area.
Yeah.
While also continuing to do youth work in our community, which is something that I very much believe in, and it's something that saved my life as a young person as well.
Yeah. Do you ever take time to stop and reflect and think, not only am I actively trying to help the music scene at the moment, because I always see the music scene as like an ecosystem.
Yeah.
Like, you need venues, you need studios like this, you need musicians, and you need drive and ambition, and it not to be like a thankless task and getting paid in exposure in an originals band.
Oh yeah, love that.
On Wednesday night in Croydon, as I'm sure we can obviously go into if you want. But do you ever stop and think, do people ever thank you and say, without you I wouldn't been able to get a gig at, say, Rossco Fest, for example? Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, with a lot of the youth work I do, I mean, reflective practice is kind of the forefront of it.
Okay.
As it goes, actually, I've had some very valuable scenarios, really, where young people have very much said that I've made a difference in their lives, which is really what I do it for, to be honest. So I'm glad that's something that can happen. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it, I suppose. And you're right. And there is a certain level of involvement where maybe I should be giving myself more credit than I do today. But it's difficult.
It is difficult because I feel like with musicians, sometimes we lean too much into looking for external validation. And when we upload something to Spotify, we hope that it does well. But it's also okay if it doesn't do well initially and it slowly goes up.
Absolutely. I mean, people need to understand that, some of the songs that people are still discovering to this day are from the 70s and 80s, and new generations of people are discovering songs that were released way before they were born. We've done the same for many songs, I imagine. Especially, like we say, the 70s and 80s, where we weren't necessarily born. And so, music is kind of for life. And I know that it's getting very saturated, and things like AI aren't helping by blasting on another 50 years worth of content a day.
Yeah, and they're now creating bands that are literally non-existent.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Gorillaz, but with no thought at all.
Yeah.
Behind it, and it's and it's great concept and everything, and capitalism, I'm sure, will do very well for it, but it's it's really losing that feel, man.
Yeah, the passion and the warmth and the electricity that you feel when you're recording and stuff.
The universal language that music kind of is, and what it does for people when they hear it. And
going back to Barry Manilow and stuff, I looked up for my research on this.
Yeah.
He still gets 6.5 million Spotify listeners.
Yeah, we were quite surprised actually when talking to the management of this company and everything, and the level of how much the ticket sales are going, for example. And we were pleasantly surprised, really, of how well this project is doing. Bearing in mind that we've only played a couple of shows, and they're mostly sort of warm-up shows for the main tour that's going to start in February. The amount of people that are very much still listening to Barry, that a lot of his songs that are still very popular, and it's quite funny actually that some of the songs I've discovered that I was like, oh my god, this guy did this song, or or there are many songs evidently that are covers of Barry's that he also made famous or continued or whatever, or vice versa for other acts that have covered his songs. but yeah, it was quite nice actually. There was quite a lot of songs that I didn't realise that. Oh yeah, well this is him, and I found it quite good actually. And some of them are really really entertaining actually. Some of the songs.
We'll go back to this project in a bit, but just to sort of tie this up in a bow and ask you some more questions, did you have to audition for this position?
Luckily for me, this was more of a who you know than what you know scenario. I suppose technically my audition was happened because David Payne, who's one of the musical directors for the project, he was actually my year 6 teacher, funnily enough.
Okay.
But that wasn't why we reconnected. We reconnected because he works with young people in the community. He often works with young actors, dancers, musicians, and tries to get them on bigger stages in bigger productions, basically. Work with them to do that. And with my youth work with Steps, we ended up crossing paths through a youth open mic night that we put on, and I filled in for someone who wasn't there. And Dave watched me play, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't realise you played." We sort of reconnected and everything and talked about it. And I said to him, "Look, I'm session drummer by trade or whatever," and he was like, "Oh great, well if I have a project coming up, I'll let you know." About a week later, he literally rang me saying, "You know how I said?"
So rare.
Yeah, you know how I said if I had a project, I'd let you know. And he'd basically been in contact with Martin James, who's the Barry of the Barry Manilow tribute act, as it were. And so Martin's like the main director of the business, and then Dave's like the musical director, stage director, and then there's also Freya, who's the choreographer for the dancers and works a lot on the harmonisation side of the vocals.
All right.
But yeah, literally he rang me. He was just like, "Well, I'm in contact with these people. We're building this project, and basically we're talking to a promoter who's from somewhere." Sorry, Mark, I can't remember where you're from, but
Comment down below.
but he's
from Portugal, you twats.
But the promoter that they were working with, basically, Mark, he works with a lot of tribute acts, and he works with a lot of bigger tribute acts in the country. So he worked with us to get us in these bigger venues and do a lot of the marketing for it. And as a result, this kind of thing's all coming together. And Dave needed a drummer kind of thing, and it's like we kind of need it like now kind of thing. So so I just kind of said, "Yep, sign me up," and that's kind of it. That was kind of it, really. And off we went.
Because you always hear like there's two things to that. You always hear about we'll call you, don't call us.
Yeah,
you know that's like an old thing from like the 60s, isn't it? But also it always goes back to this with music, where I just happened to be in this place at this time, and someone saw me.
Yeah.
Like my whole involvement with Hourglass was I went to the Sepultura gig and I thought I could add value and help. And then the next thing I know, I'm 3 years in and helping set down, all this stage equipment and erecting scaffolding and telling people at the pavilion that they're absolutely useless and that they needed to clear the tables and chairs away by 8 a.m. and here we are at 10 a.m. and they're all still walking around like fucking Dead Rising. But that was a while back now. But yeah, it always seems to go back to like, oh, I was just helping on the door and someone else had to quickly pop to the toilet. And then the next thing I know, I got a job as an events organizer. And I'm now 15 years in. It's so strange how these things... You have to raise your hand, though, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because otherwise no one's going to acknowledge you.
This is it, and you know, be present, I suppose, is the thing, really. It's all well and good saying we're going to play this one venue for the rest of our lives, and hopefully an A&R guy might walk in from Sony Records, but the chances are that's not going to happen. So being present, this is why so many bands tour and stuff like that, because it's the exposure. But it was very much who you know, and you find that there are a lot of musicians and other people in the entertainment industry who do have a similar story. I was here on this day and this person said this, and the rest was history.
This person was sick, so I filled in, and then the next thing I know, it's my actual...
Yeah, stuff like that. Or just like you just end up having a conversation with that one person that you never knew had those connections, and it's a lot of it's networking of our industries, and it's...
Do you ever remember the king of networking? I'm going to throw a bit of spanner in the works here and derail you a bit. Vinny from the Forest of Dean.
Oh, Christ,
he was in a band called Rebel Lust.
Yes.
It's all about networking, boys. Just let the music do the talking.
Yeah, of course.
God. what a fucking trip that was.
Forest of Dean.
We
was
played
an
like
interesting...
3 gigs there, I think.
Yeah.
We actually got paid a couple of times as well.
I just remember every time we turned up to that venue, there was just the chalkboard, and they'd spelt our name wrong. Desert Road, I think, was the worst one.
Oh yeah, that's a Ben and Jerry's flavour, bro. Come on, like.
Yeah, Desert Rose suddenly had an extra S, and the
Desert Rosé with an accent on it.
Apostrophe above the E.
Oh man.
Just a quick reminder that you're listening and watching Absolute Bedlam Podcast. Please, please, please drop me a subscribe and a like and comment down below. Thank you very much. Get on it. Tell your mates. Tell your dog. Tell your family. Cheers.
Absolute Bedlam.
If you could go back in time and change anything within your musical career, be it people you've met, be it projects that you regret, be it projects that you think you could have actually pushed further, where would you look, and sort of compared to sort of now and then, is there anything that really stands out for you as someone that's been doing music for how long?
That's a good question. Well, I picked up the drums when I was 15, so it was a bit late in my life, really, that I actually started really hammering that instrument. I mean, I literally joined Desert Rose a year after I started.
And how old are you
drums.
now? Sorry, just for
32.
the audience. 32. So you've been doing it for 17 years.
Yes.
So you can nearly drink on the amount of time you've slogged music.
Yes, absolutely. And like I say, and I was a late bloomer on the a lot of people will talk about their musical journey being like, I was doing it from 8 or 4, or like there'd be all sorts of stories like that. But yeah, it took me ages to actually pick up my first instrument.
Yeah.
I've already forgotten what the actual question was. Oh,
That's
yes,
all right.
the regrets.
Yeah, so is there any like highlights or lowlights or anything that you would have changed?
Go into, Silly Band was one of my favourite projects I've ever done. I mean, there's... it was definitely a massive part of me. It's definitely like the laid back, not really taking things too seriously was definitely something that I've also taken through to Rossco & Co. But when it came to actually recording the album Water is the Ruination of Everything, bearing in mind this was an album that we said to Benji Webb from Skindred, do you want to be on it? And he said yes, somehow. Well, I know how, we paid him. But
That'll do it.
But it was the fact that the actual overall quality of the album, we did it all ourselves, the guitarist we had for the band, he did a lot of the recording, he did the mixing and mastering, and I even spoke to other people outside of the project. There was a guy who offered to mix and master our first song for free, and he said if we didn't like it, we didn't have to use him, but if we did like it, he would mix and master the whole album for us. And I was like, brilliant, we can actually get it professionally mixed and mastered maybe, or work with someone else in network and increase our sort of like, if someone else works on it and mix and masters it, that's another person that's potentially promoting the album.
Yeah.
And the guitarist was very much like, no, I'm not going to send you any of the stems. Everything I've done is fine, and this is how it's going to sound.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit bummed out by that, and he stood his ground so hard that it didn't change. And every time I hear any song from that album, I just think about the massive amounts of reverb on all the songs. I think about the quality, the overall volume of the songs are really quiet when you when you play one song and then you move over into the next song from like Silly Band, for example, it would be really quiet in comparison and stuff like that, really. And it was just one of those that I wish I'd been more forward and forceful with, like, no, this is not good enough yet, we need to bring it up a level. But like I say, at the same time, it was a project where we were very laid back and we weren't taking the industry too seriously, so I mean there's also that. But but it's my one regret when I look back. It's some of the songs could have sounded beefier, heavier, crisper, and I do think to myself every so often when I hear things, especially like Heart Pills or Monster Dog particularly, I think actually those sound pretty lackluster to the actual full vision I have of those songs in my head, and I'm almost tempted to just go back and do the whole album again, but better quality, but we'll see if we have time for that.
Jamie, editor, if you could put the album artwork for Water is the Ruination of Everything.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Because that was cool. That was made by your sister?
That's correct. Yeah, Nikki did the original artwork for it, but then she got very busy with a lot of the stuff, and we wanted to make the physical copy, so we needed a back face for it.
Yeah.
So my partner at the time actually recreated her original artwork for the front, so that it was more in her style, so that then she did the back as well. And so it kind of ended up being a bit of a collaborative effort, but the original design was created by Nikki, who
she's ridiculously good.
yeah, really good actually.
She helped
she's
a
working
lot with a lot of the projects that I was involved in, especially stuff with you in.
Yes, is it? And bless her, you know, she was always pretty struck for time on her freelance artwork. Art is to the level that she does it is very time consuming.
Yeah.
And so she's pushed out some really good art stuff, and she's working on some really big projects at the moment. And I don't know where it's going to go for her, but she's working with everything from digital video gaming to physical like toys and stuff like that, and doing concept art for those. And she's still working on a lot of that, but she's also working day jobs as well as top of that, so she's also stretching in the same way, really, where the freelance stuff isn't paying enough to warrant the roof over your head.
Did Nikki do anything with Desert Rose? Because I know Jonathan Rowland created the Last Orders casino slot thing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, Nikki didn't do anything with Desert Rose. She did a few things for Silly Band, but that's all she ever really had time for in the end. Yeah. And her schedule was pretty heavy. So as a result, when it came to Rossco and Co.'s artwork as well, I would have loved for Nikki to have done that, but it's just time, It's just time for her, and I don't think she ever really wants to charge me much, but at the same time, she...
It's how she makes a living.
Yeah, so it's like she doesn't want to charge me because I'm her brother, or doesn't want to charge me much, but at the same time she doesn't want to work for free, so she's kind of in that limbo, and I was just like, fair enough, And
I'm going to blow your mind right now.
Oh God, you don't
Do
still
these?
have Desert Rose guitar picks.
This is genuinely a coincidence because me, Casper, and my friend Luke, who used to be the drummer of Silly Band, we went to Absolute Music earlier.
Yeah.
And I've always struggled to find picks in Absolute Music.
Right.
And you end up playing guitar just with your fingers.
Yeah.
So I took loads and loads of guitar picks, and I just happened to pick up 2 of these. That's actually probably the last remaining piece of physical evidence that Desert Rose ever existed.
Yeah, that's quite right, actually, because I remember when it was because it was early days of Facebook, wasn't it? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, and the way bands were rolling on them. But I remember this really random, like when Desert Rose split up, there was a really random push from other entities around us, whether it would be like girlfriends or or other friends around us, just like, well, you don't really need a Facebook page anymore because you don't exist. Yeah. I remember whoever it was, whether it was Sam or Hex or someone, basically caved and went, yeah, that's right.
It was probably Hex, because he's very, like, we were talking about him earlier, weren't we? Like, he's very sort of 1 or 0, very black and white thinking.
Yeah. So, but I just remember whoever it was who had access to the page pulled the plug on it anyway, and then that was it. The Rags to Riches music video gone from existence. Any
probably not a bad thing, to be fair.
I don't know. I had a cowbell
that
solo
was made
in it.
with £6 budget. I reckon.
But I had a cowbell solo in
the
it.
bottom of the hole.
It still sounded less reverby than the Silly Band album.
Hex always did that though. He did that with Falling for Vanity. He deleted a ton of stuff off of that. And there's a couple of existing songs on the YouTube of like Lips of Spite.
Yeah.
And maybe Skin Deep when he was playing a 7-string.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But he's always been very nuclear. Like, I'm just gonna bin this off, and obviously there's other people in the band.
Yeah,
you can't
absolutely.
Just
and it's it's history. It's what's making you the musician you are today.
Well,
and when people look back at your history, like anyone who wants to work with you or anything, you can go, well, actually, I was experimenting with this, and this when I was younger. Whereas if you delete it all, it's just that as far as any employer or anyone else who works with you in the music industry is concerned, they would just be like, well, mate, have you only just been doing this for 5 minutes, kind of thing. So
I've always made a conscious effort ever since starting the podcast of just privating things on YouTube rather than deleting them.
Yeah.
A, because until recently I haven't actually had a physical backup of anything. So if I delete it off YouTube, mate, it's gone.
Yeah.
Literally gone. But one thing that my old business partner John always said to me was never ever delete content. Always look at it as an opportunity to grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you listen to like the first couple of podcasts I did, they were awful. They sounded horrendous. They were all audio. Obviously we did one on Anchor, if you remember that.
Yeah.
And it was like every 15 minutes you have to switch the recording to a new one, because otherwise we'd start like syncing out.
Oh.
But yeah, that was a bit of a tangent.
Yeah,
but
it's all relevant.
Is there any highlights? I know that when Silly Band played with like Electric Six, that was like a really big deal for you.
One of the best gigs of my life, and also when we supported Skindred, you know, Silly Band was literally a project that said exactly what it was on the tin. We, particularly at the very beginning of Silly Band's existence, we literally just turned up on stage and shat all over ourselves. It wasn't, you know, there wasn't any musical like directive. It was just, you know, slam these 3 power chords over and over again for the song, scream down the microphone, shout at people, tell them their shit, and then get off the stage and, you know, get on with your life. And for that to become an entity where actually it was becoming a bit of a business, it was becoming an actual band that was doing stuff. And when we actually completely did a factory reset on the band members and everything, I was the only original member by the time we got to 2012. And and then we suddenly rebuilt this whole thing. We wrote the Water is the Ruination of Everything album, and it, with the accompaniment of people like Tommy Dawson, Dale Austin, Luke Errett, who were bringing a very a higher standard of musical talent to, especially Dale Austin. I mean, one of the best musicians I've ever worked with. He's just like, literally, he could just do anything by ear for a start. But he just upped that value of every single song we wrote. And as a result, it brought us to this new level. And then, like you say, we supported Electric Six, we supported Skindred. Benji Webb from Skindred featured on our album.
What kind of animals run the farm? What kind of people would want to harm? Run them away.
And, you know, these are things that were never going to happen when we were, you know, shitting all over ourselves in booze-soaked shitholes, you know. But it was, you know, still part of the experience, and it was, you know, and we were staying true to that to a degree, but while refining the actual music itself.
I think I've asked you this before, but I'll ask it again. Was there any point in Silly Band in terms of money? Was it ever about that? Was it ever a net positive experience for you? Because the amount of money you spent on props far exceeds anything.
Not just the props.
Like, that almost became more of a priority than actually performing, to me, from an outsider perspective.
Yeah, absolutely, but this is it. It was part of the experience. You know, we did the Space Hopper Wall of Death. We filled a paddling pool with plastic balls and had a ball pit in the middle of the mosh pit. It was all part of the experience, and it definitely outweighed the necessity to make money. And quite frankly, no one was paying us more than 50 to 100 quid at a time anyway, despite how much we were spending on the project as it goes. What was good is that a lot of the merchandise and the albums, particularly because we bought physical albums, which I still to this day have about 300 to 500 of. However,
link down below.
I was thinking about saving them for like if I was really like needing to like a Kickstarter campaign or something.
The Ross project.
Please
My
save
life
me from
in
debt.
notes.
And so I've still got loads of albums, but we did actually break even on, or just above break even on the albums, because they only worked out about £1 an album for me, and we sold over a quarter of them, potentially up to half. But I mean, I know that we did do a lot of giving away by the end of it.
I'm aware that this is a very Silly Band part of the podcast, but whose idea was it to make Silly Band condoms?
Yeah,
because that's Kiss level of merch.
Well, this is it. The merchandising, or like the slapping our logo on anything, was definitely just like something that was. Well, when I just Googled things, you know, I just constantly be like, what could I slap my logo on, basically? And the condoms came as part of I think it was Joe Dallison that originally suggested having a piñata filled with condoms. And I think that's what basically started Silly Band's journey of using props on the stage. But
it's just crazy.
But so I think it was actually Joe who initially suggested the condoms, and then that's when I later on discovered that you could slap your logo on the condoms. And for the rest
then
of
the
history.
whole of Weymouth got pregnant.
Not just Weymouth, but also Plymouth. Someone
it's
actually,
like a virus.
Someone actually let me know when I returned to Plymouth with As Flames Rise. He was like, holy shit, you're that guy from Silly Band. And I was like, yeah, that's me. And he was like, yeah, I used one of your condoms. Didn't work very well. Got her pregnant. And I was like, oh my God, this is not something I want to wear.
I'd love that to be like a disclaimer on your website, like a testimony.
I did shout at every single gig when the piñata got broken open, these are for ornamental use only. And... and you know what they say, you know, if you're using a condom, you gotta look for the heart logo, not the Silly Band heart logo, but
Be using a different type of heart pill the day after.
Yeah, but the actual, I don't even know what the heart logo is for condoms, but it's like, is it like the EU or is it the Great Britain? I don't know. But
Don't know, bro.
But no, it's the signal to show you that it's actually one you should use, and not just some random one that I threw out in a pinata. You should definitely be using as contraception because
I'm going to reach out to Durex after this, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
See if we can sort something out. Yeah, so that was a lot. Yeah, the merch was crazy. And the one thing that I think I've explained to you in the past on the audio recording that we did is I don't know many people that watched you guys and you had this real sense of Limp Bizkit, we do not give a fuck. Like, watch this.
Yeah, we certainly did do that.
You always seemed, from my perspective, as someone that went to a lot of gigs, that you always seemed to get people on side. Because the absolute anarchy and energy that you guys brought, and the fact that you then swept up all the chaos afterwards physically with a broom.
I mean, that was the main thing that got us invited back by venue owners. After we had literally soiled the entire place with confetti cannons, ball pit balls, and got the pinatas, the condoms, and everything.
Yeah.
We did do our own clean-up service afterwards, because we. Purely from the fear of venue owners not inviting us back, we wanted to maintain that rapport that yes, we are a band that shit all over ourselves, but we'd like to think that you guys could actually rely on us to make sure that you're not doing all the cleaning and everything. So we always kept pretty true to that as it goes. And with Rossco and Co, I still use many props, confetti cannons, inflatables, and stuff like that. But try and keep it a bit more reserved for the sake of my own work.
Yeah, well, I think in a weird way it's created a bit of a duality for you, because going forwards, obviously you're going to be doing Rossco and Co and the Barry Manilow thing side by side, and that almost gives you a sense of like introvert extrovert thing. And it also enables you to be a singer and a drummer. So you've got this weird sort of, tonight I'm just going to sit back and play the hi-hat.
Yeah.
Tonight I'm going to sing my fucking heart out and make sure that everyone has a great time.
Yeah, that's right.
Because when you're drumming, you don't really have that control, do you?
Yeah,
like, you can obviously stand up and be like, come on, people, raise your hands.
This is always what got me about drumming. Drumming is my main instrument. It's my first instrument. It's the one I'm most versed in.
Yeah.
But what I always hated about it is the confines of it. I can't move anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm just here. And when I was sat down and moving less than some of my other bandmates and some of the other people that I'd worked with over the years, or just watching them enjoy themselves and interact with the crowd much easier, that's what made me want to pick up the bass guitar, the guitar, and do vocals for a band, because I wanted to be in the forefront of it with the crowd, experiencing it with the crowd and helping the crowd experience it with me. It wasn't as easy strapped behind the drums, because you kind of left it to the people at the front to do that for you. And sometimes that wouldn't happen. So then you'd be pissed off because you're stuck behind the drums. Whereas when I'm the front man, I take responsibility for that and I just go for it. Let's have a good time.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Cool. In terms of drums, obviously it's how we met, and we did Rumblefish Twist, Desert Rose. And one thing that I noticed with you very, very quickly was, and this isn't just me glazing you because you're in front of me, I've told you this privately, I think your ability to drum is a natural talent.
Yeah, I feel so too, to be honest.
And for you to kind of turn your back on that and do silly band, I don't know, there's this sense of like, I know that I can come back to this and be as proficient as I used to be, but I personally, this is probably just me being self-deprecating at this point, but I had to really, really work at being good at bass. And I think I'm okay at bass now, but I could get back to being good, but I'd really have to knuckle down and discipline myself and like practice for 20 minutes a day, like an hour a week or whatever. And sometimes I find with these like bedroom guitarists and bedroom drummers and stuff, when something comes naturally to someone, they almost disregard it as like this sort of rabbit out of a hat thing.
Right.
And like now that you're back playing drums full time, I'm super excited for you, like genuinely super excited for you. But is there now this level of like, I actually have to get better and keep my chops up and practice outside of the gig?
Yeah, so there is definitely that extra pressure of keeping this. So when you're a session musician for someone else who's effectively an employer, even though we do have a very good relationship, everyone's very friendly with each other in the production, you are effectively someone's employee, not just the director of the business, but the promoter that's putting on your acts and everything. So there's this additional layer of pressure to be at a professional level, and make sure that you're really delivering that. So as a result, I have been drumming a lot more at home, doing a lot more practice at home, through like putting on the production literally from start to finish and playing through it like every day for a week and stuff like that. And so I've been really, really pushing myself to reverse myself in drums and re-immerse myself in the experience. So you're right. It's this case of to take it seriously and to get better and more professional and more rounded at it. I've just got to keep it up and keep it ongoing, because although we do retain things from our musical memories and stuff like that, it's picking it back up.
The only way out is through, and the only way you get better is to keep doing it.
Ta-da! Yeah,
completely.
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
Got some fan questions for you.
Oh, yay.
When I say fan, it's literally my son and one of our best friends.
Biggest fans.
But, 500 subscribers doesn't mean 500 questions, does it, you bunch of bastards? When did you decide to get rid of your long hair from Casper?
Oh my god, so actually December 21st, just gone, is the 10-year anniversary of when I cut my hair off.
Nice.
I was with Matty actually, and it was one of those where we had a conversation where it was like, wouldn't it be funny if you just cut off all your hair and then just went on with your life and just didn't say anything to anyone, and everyone you interacted with, you just interacted with the same and didn't point out the hair thing. And we all had a big laugh about it, and then I kind of went, wait, am I considering this? And and it's just kind of one of those where we got our friend over who was a hairdresser. She came over, lopped it off, did a bit of styling, and I literally that night walked into a staff party at the Cove with no hair. And so it was just a whim basically, but afterwards I absolutely praised the lack of work I had to do every morning to get it clean and all that maintenance. Saved myself an hour or two and every day, so it was
awesome. And Matt has asked, favourite Rumble Fish Twist song and why? And I actually think that's a really hard question, because there wasn't actually that many songs.
Well, we say that. I think we had a good 7 or 8, didn't we? I tell you what, for different reasons, there are songs that I liked, well, there was the absolute, like, the false starts, like... I
still play that now.
Yeah, me too, actually. When I pick up an instrument, because it's such
9/11, not that 9/11. You fucking
the fret numbers. But it's just one of those. It's catchy. It was simple and it was fun to play. So always had that stuck in my head still for years after. And I feel that if we released a random EP, we should definitely re-record that.
That should be at the front of the EP.
But also, I loved the chorus of Innocence. I used to not that I'm scared. I'm not scared.
I felt really valid in that, because I actually wrote the intro.
And a few people mistaked it for Chasing Cars, but it wasn't the same. It was,
I think even the singer mistook it for Chasing Cars sometimes. Bless him. Mr. Lizard Man himself.
Lizard.
Gilf.
Oh, Gilf. Yeah, that's it.
He's well into his reptiles.
Yeah, very. It's been a while since I've actually spoken to him, but it was only a couple of years ago that I did speak to him, and I've seen him around, like from a distance, a few times. But still a pleasant human being to be around. He's very very lovely. Always has been.
Like with the first 5 songs that we wrote at Tides, we really had lightning in a bottle, and we didn't really understand it or know how to embrace it. And then there was a sense of what do we do now? We've got a 30-minute set list, but I don't really have any other ideas to throw into the pot.
Absolutely, but I think that what we did with it, we jumped on some of the local shows and stuff like that. Really got into the local scene. We might not have taken it to stratospheric stratospheric,
No.
points or anything like that, and never really officially recorded anything.
Yeah.
But we did it, and it was the start of our journey, really, for
Yeah.
me especially. It was my first ever
Yeah,
band.
you had your Cannon Adder drum kit.
Yeah, God.
Yeah.
And literally, Cannon Adder, it is literally like the basic whatever.
It's like a Line 6 guitar amp.
Well, worse, mate. It is the most beginner thing you can get, to the point where every drummer I was speaking to was like, "Oh, what kind of kit you got, mate?" And it's like Cannon Adder, and they were like,
"Don't
"A
speak
what?"
to me ever
Well, they were like,
again.
"A what? What is that?" And I was like, "I don't know. If you don't know, mate, then I got
It's
a
just
clue."
what it says on the front.
Yeah, it's just what it says on the skin, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was just a really beginner's kit.
Yeah.
Pasty 101s as well, cymbals.
Yeah.
And so we really made do with what we had, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And it was
we didn't have a lot of money then, and we
No,
didn't
not
get
at
paid
all.
for any shows, as far
This
as
is
I'm
it,
aware.
and I
but
still
yeah,
talk
we
to
made
taxi
it.
drivers now that remember taking me to Rumblefish Twist and Desert
Oh,
Rose
yeah,
gigs.
'cause it
in
filled your car up.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I didn't have a car, so I couldn't drive. I wasn't even old enough to drive when we first started Rumblefish
Yeah.
Twist.
There was a real sense of like ignorance is bliss with that band. I felt.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was fun, It was
fun,
just, like I say, it was the early part of our journey. We were just having a few gigs out and about with the local scene,
It was-
meeting some new people, networking with some new people. Whether we were good or not was irrelevant. It was just the
think
fact that we had fun, and that's,
In hindsight as well, it was fantastic for the both of us because we'd usually support Desert Rose.
yeah,
So we'd actually practice twice in one night.
yeah, brilliant.
And there's nothing better than a free rehearsal.
Yeah.
Even if you're playing a venue and there's no one watching you,
Yeah, boom.
you're still rehearsing for free.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, awesome. So have you always had a wide range of music genre tastes?
Well, funnily enough, no, I haven't, to be honest. Before I really got into music in general, or really understood what that meant for me, before my dad really got involved, because he was so laid back and everything, he never really pushed much music stuff on me until I was sort of like in my early teens.
Yeah.
So when my mum used to go, you should really be getting into some music, some artists and stuff. And at the time, I literally thought that the only music that existed was Westlife, Boyzone, Spice Girls, and anything you hear at a school disco. And so I was a little bit like, well, what am I supposed to really be getting into? And then when I was about 12 or 13, I found Linkin Park, and things started literally this, and that was when things just went, holy shit, what is this? And it's the first time I'd heard someone proper like going for it, rough vocals down the mic and stuff, and I was like, wow, and it really made me feel, and then that's when I started broadening out to the metal and rock industry, and my dad started coming in with a few other influences from the 60s, 70s and 80s, so that's when I started getting my knowledge of bands like Squeeze, who are one of my favourite bands to this day, because they absolutely shut out the hits in the 80s, and they were a brilliant band for me to see when I saw them back in 2019.
Just to interject quickly, I think Jules Holland's potentially been here before, or Nick Capaldi's met him in a couple of situations.
Yeah, because Jules was their piano player for a
At
while.
one point for a while, that was my funnel on introducing myself to new music.
Right.
The later at Jules Holland stuff.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
And some of the bands, there was a Deep Valley and Haim, who are huge.
Is that the
Haim.
Yes.
It was a girl band.
There's a song they do called Pray to God, which I
yeah,
absolutely
and
love.
Forever as well, which has got like quite a funky bass line. But yeah, going back, Jules Holland, Squeeze.
Yeah.
And then like you seem to, this is just from my perspective, my outside source was you found System of a Down.
Yes. So
And
System
then
of a
you
Down.
really went off a cliff, bro,
Yeah.
and you started listening to like Sperm Swamp.
Yes, so this is
And I
what
was
I was
just
going to get
like-
to first off, is that yes, once I started diving into this rock and metal thing, I really got sucked into the death metal, gore grind.
7,000 BPM.
And I found myself really closed off from anything that pop or anything else that came my way. I was like, no, it's all about heavy metal, man. It's all about the most disgusting, gargly, horrible noises, and I was fascinated by a lot of them, to be honest. Garroted, Sperm Swamp, they were all just these
Dying
bands.
Fetus.
Yeah, so just these bands that like, really, these exist?
Yeah.
And
These guys get money for doing that.
I don't think so, but
Yeah, fair enough.
but you never know. So I really got closed off then. I was really in this bottleneck of heavy metal or die, in my angsty teenage years. And then I went to college and did music at college, and I met some other musicians that were really into other genres, and I got taught a lot more about the stylistic elements of other genres. And suddenly, before I knew it, I was really expanding my musical repertoire, and it wasn't just about heavy metal anymore, and it was just about music in general. And then I started really loving cheese in general, regardless of genre, and that can certainly still be in heavy metal, I'll tell you that much. And that's when bands like Silly Band started forming and started blending and changing into these new entities, when Silly Band started off as a very heavy punky project,
very distorted,
and then sort of grew into a bit more of a bit of cheese, a bit of catchiness in there as well,
bit of reggae.
And this is it, and experimenting with different genres. And then before I knew it, it literally, I can't even tell you when it really was, but one day it just sort of seemed like I bottlenecked from heavy metal, and then suddenly there wasn't a genre I didn't enjoy. Apart from maybe extra tone, because the point of turning a song to 100,000 BPM seems very strange. But
I didn't even know that existed.
Well,
for me, music's always been very. I'll listen to most things, but I'm not really into opera. I'm not really into hip hop and R&B, and I'm certainly not into like anything beyond Whitechapel. Saying that, we are seeing Slaughter to Prevail and Suicide Silence this Friday.
Yes, with Dying Fetus.
So it's funny how sometimes, like, when you just go to gigs for like the vibes and the adventure behind it,
absolutely,
you actually open yourself up to quite a lot. Because I don't know about you, but I've found Weymouth in particular to be very, I just listen to like black metal or power metal.
There were definitely people that we knew that were of that kind of...
It's like eating the same food every single possible meal. And I just think to some people, like, you actually probably do like this band, but you've never heard of them. Bands like Holding Absence and just like really like atmospheric,
well, they were a really cool band, actually. I haven't seen them
people
for a
seem
long
to
time.
go quite extreme, I've noticed. They go really into the deep end, and they listen to like stuff like Sabaton, like battle metal, and a lot of people seem to listen to Linkin Park, Iron Maiden. That seems to be a real big entry point, doesn't it, for a lot of people?
Absolutely, well, the city,
But
Iron Maiden, Linkin Park, they're all kind of like gateway drugs to your heavier metal.
Yeah, definitely. So with some more questions, then we're going to wrap up.
Cool.
Weirdest venue you've ever played?
God, there's a few. I mean, we mentioned the Forest of Dean earlier. Not necessarily weird venue there, but I mean, it was just the area. It was like completely surrounded by a forest, and it seemed like everyone who kind of lived in that area kind of stayed there. It might not have been the case, but
what was that venue called?
It definitely felt like it.
I know it was in Chepstow.
Ooh. Can't think of that.
I can't remember. It was a pub, and they were well up for it. I could tell. I don't know if Vinny just promised them the world.
I think was it when we played Croydon with Desert Rose. We supported that band.
Bleed to
This, and their final song, which everyone in the place knew, was called "Motherfucking Bastard Whore." And I just remember everyone went mental for it. That was an interesting show.
They were really nice.
Yeah,
and
they were.
That's actually a common misconception, people.
Literally.
People in metal bands are actually genuinely really nice.
It's actually hilarious because I often see things on like social media about Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse, the singer of Cannibal Corpse. And when he's on tour, he plays all the prize grabber machines and donates them to needy children. Stuff like that.
To needy children.
Yeah, literally. And
I'm still ill.
It's still ill. Here's a toy, mate. And I'm just going to go on stage and sing about coming blood. But it's... but yeah, it's just one of those. But...
Yeah, there's a real preconceived notion that like metal people are naughty and like bad, and
well, there was always a very conservative look on it through the 80s and stuff. It was very evident. But
completely. So was that the weirdest venue then?
No, I think the weirdest venue I ever played was at a place called D-Side in North Wales. Everyone there was just a bit odd. Like no one really wanted us there, even though they booked us for the gig. It was a really strange place. There was nothing really going on there. There was a singular co-op, I guess, but so they had like the venue owner, the people that attended, everyone was a bit abrasive, I think, and I think that's what kind of put us on edge a bit, because we were a little bit like, are we even welcome here, kind of thing. But everyone was just kind of in their own little world, and it really opened up my eyes of the way some people live in North Wales. I mean, it's just a whole different like entity to what Southern Wales is like, And yeah, so that was definitely one of the weirder ones, mostly just for the way everyone kind of acted around us. But
I'll tell you what, one that strikes me was the Dolphin in Weymouth.
oh yeah,
Because
well,
that literally
once
got
Queen's
built.
closed down,
Yeah.
I mean, Dolphin's been around for a long time, and we kind of commandeered it for our local gigs because Queen's closed down, and we were so lucky to get a venue literally the next door down.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can write that, but yeah, they really sorted us out for a while when we were
for like
struggling for a place to go until we all
for a
found
good like
Finn's.
7-8 months. We had a pretty good rain, and we had the Rocket Dolls come down. And every time the Rocket
miss the
Dolls play
Rocket
Weymouth,
Dolls.
they'd sell out. I think Nikki still does some stuff.
Yeah,
I speak to
I've seen him
Tommy, their old bassist, quite a lot.
Yeah, he's the
but
one who
he's
used to have
now
the,
earning tons of money with a drone company.
What did he used to play?
Bass.
Yeah, no, I mean the actual bass, like the brand.
Oh, a Fender Precision.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, he played with his fingers a lot as well.
Yeah, always a winner.
Yeah,
And then, yeah, Ben,
they had a lot
yeah.
of bassists. Yeah. Benji Knopfler was always their drummer, as far as
Yeah,
I'm
he
aware.
used to use
but-
tree trunks as sticks. Like,
Yeah, and he had Zildjian pitch black cymbals. I think, at one point.
he hits so hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so precise. It was such a fantastic drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's doing some solo stuff now. But,
Oh, very
yeah.
good. Oh, I'll have to check it out.
But yeah, I like the fact that we kind of just built a venue.
Yeah.
Like,
it was kind of. I
And,
can't remember
yeah.
who was really the driving force of that either. I don't know if it was like Callum Millwood and that, or
I think Callan and Matt were, because it was Ugly Sisters Promotions, wasn't
right.
it?
That's right. Yes.
Because at one point I actually put like 40 quid of my own money into it to help the band get paid, and then Matt ended up giving me, HMRC, don't listen to this bit, about 120 quid.
Right.
And I thought, fucking hell, like, this actually, you know, you've got to obviously risk your capital.
Yes, absolutely.
40 quid.
So is the life of a promoter.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, bloody hell, this is actually working. And then, you know, we had Asbestos play there. We had Miss Fool play there, or Kalinsky, whatever they were called back then.
Absolutely.
We had a band called the Handshake Affair from
yeah.
Germany, and I think once they actually just didn't show up.
Oh, yeah, well, it's easily done when you're travelling overseas.
But Rumble Fish Twist, that was like our inception as well, wasn't
randomly
it?
remember a band called Boxing Clever.
Yeah.
I
They
can't
played the
remember who-
Roadhouse a couple of times.
Yeah, I can't remember who was in that band, but there's people I see, and I remember speaking to one guy. I was like, "Were you in a band called Boxing Clever?" And he was like, "Never heard of it." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I guess not."
Any funny tour stories that come to mind, and you can keep them clean if you want to. It's completely up to you.
Touring stories. Well, there's plenty, I'm sure, but it's been a while, to be honest. I think just in general, really, Silly Band, when we were talking about how much money I absolutely shat up the wall on that band, the touring scenario was definitely one of them, because we got ourselves a state-of-the-art van, which had like a fat trailer for all the gear. It had 9 beds in it, 2 sofas, 2 TVs, Xbox and a PlayStation, and a code to the door, so you could literally leave and come and back whenever you needed to. So on that tour, it was like a 2-weeker, but yeah, God knows how much money I actually spent on that thing, because I can tell you for an absolute fact we never made that back. But we lived in luxury, and it was a brilliant couple of weeks. We did learn a lot about touring in that time, especially when the driver turned up and went, "Who's the tour manager and where are we parking?" And we all looked at each other and went, "Aren't you the driver? Shouldn't you know where you're parking?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's not how tours work." And we were quite young, obviously, so we were just a bit like, "Well, we haven't organised any parking for any of the venues, and also this vehicle is way too extravagant for any of the venues we're playing." So it was literally like Mount the Curb for most of the places we played.
That's an album name, Mount the Curve.
And yeah, so yeah, went absolutely full ham on a state-of-the-art tour van.
Yeah,
that
fair enough.
and yeah, like I say, had a brilliant time, but it was so obnoxious, and it was so much bigger than any of the venues we were playing. We must have looked like absolute dicks turning up to these tiny 50-cap venues. In
Like you've all
luxury
got silver
cruise liner.
spoons. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Daddy's
it was so worth it though. What a holiday it kind of ended up being,
Yeah.
playing every night in different places, being able to sleep in the van and wake up in a new place. But yes, it did teach us so much about the organisational practices that go into
Yeah,
touring, and the fact it wasn't just a case of we turn up and hire a driver and he would know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
It was a case of actually there should have been someone who was the tour manager, which we just didn't have because we didn't really know.
Know that you needed
We'd
one,
never
you
been on
didn't
a
even
tour
know that
before.
that job existed.
Yeah, exactly. And then, yeah, so if I've got any advice for anyone going on a tour, parking is something that's major, especially if you're playing smaller venues. So definitely look in advance if you can.
Yeah, fair enough. Bit of an open question, and I'm not expecting an answer right now, but do you think there will be a Rossco Fest 2026, as far as you're aware?
Now, this is a really interesting one because there was almost a 100% guarantee from Ryan from the Little Ship that Rossco Fest 2026 was going to happen. He was like, as far as I'm concerned, I've made a profit. It was a great day, and I love your band. Didn't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting that. Is what his words were. A few months after, Ryan left the ship, so it's now under new ownership. I have met Jack. He's a lovely human being, and I'm keen to network with him to try and get a Rossco Fest going there again, because it's an ideal venue, a bit more sheltered from the winds if they're coming from that direction. It has a better contingency for indoors, which is why we moved from the Cove to there, because I think my mother was kind of panicking on the idea of contingency plans for bad weather, basically, was the biggest
Good
one.
for a podcast as well.
Yeah.
A little bench that I sat at.
Yeah, so
and I had access to charging my laptop and stuff. So
so that's
happy,
it. So it was really good, and I have very briefly, one of the other locals who comes in every day at the ship did mention to Jack, like, oh, Rossco put on this Rossco Fest last year, and so the talk has kind of happened, but Jack also said that he was an event organizer himself by trade back in the day. He used to organize events and do some roadieing for metal bands, and I think he might have mentioned Saxon. Of like, he says he's done some roadieing for him in the past and stuff. So he kind of has an idea of some of stuff like this, so it's a case of just getting that conversation rolling again. But I am a little bit worried because because Ryan was really good last year at financing, particularly the whole thing. He fronted the money for all the bands and everything, because obviously there wasn't tickets. It's a free entry event, so it was kind of a case of, if you front the money for the bands, I'll organise them all and everything and get those together. We just need the actual funding itself. Whereas I don't really know how to approach Jack, who's another venue owner, about that financial side of things. It's always going to be the finances that make these things strenuous. So it's just a case of how much will we be working with, and if I have to finance it myself, how big of an event can I actually make it? So I want another Rossco Fest. I mean, it's pretty much, it will be its 4th year if it does happen, so that's pretty cool. But it's just a case of the financial viability and a venue that will be willing to participate.
Might be worth speaking to Grace and Nick here about that. But I think, like, not to sound condescending, because I don't really know how this works. I used to run events, but I don't now. I just run this. And occasionally it gets more than 3 views, so I'll just keep doing it. But probably just break it down to a fiscal point of view. Of Ryan gave us this much money. We then got this much money back, and the event ran from this time to this time. And the bands want a couple of free drinks and a burger. I don't know, obviously you don't need to say as well, like, how much each act got paid. No. But, like, there's probably an Excel spreadsheet just in that information, and you just need to say, I want exactly what I got last year. I don't want to take the piss, and I'm happy to negotiate with you.
But this is what it looked like last year.
But this is something I'm super passionate about.
You're right.
And I'll handle all the promotion. You put posters up all around Portland. Every fucking petrol station I went to, it was in the window.
That was Matt's idea.
I think it's a good idea, man. Like, there's a lot of physical advantages to actually putting posters up still, even though social media is this monolithic thing now. You know?
But when it comes to organising a local event, though, it can still be effective. People still, despite COVID, people still leave their houses, So it's like a case of physical posters do still work to a degree. It's just you do have to be a bit more careful, especially in our old age. I feel the fly posting side of things, if that was to ever be the case, getting permissions from people was definitely a layer that needed to be considered this time around. I
feel like people now leave their houses, but they almost need a reason to leave their house. I don't know about you, but when I leave my house, I've got 3 or 4 things I need to do. So just popping to the shops and coming home sometimes doesn't do it for me. I need to stack, like, supermarket, get my car serviced, or blah blah blah. Then I'll come home and my batteries need recharging for like an hour or so. But COVID was very like, actually I can just do all of this online, and that was a weird one.
Indeed.
But anyway, do you have any questions for me as someone that's been doing this for 5 years? Anything you want?
Who's the most extravagant person that you've interviewed?
Ashens was quite a funny guy.
Yeah.
He lives in Norwich. He's got a very, very successful YouTube channel. I got him very early on though, so I didn't really know what the fuck was going on.
Fair enough.
I felt like I peaked a bit on that.
Got you.
But he immediately comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of extravagant, I don't know.
Yeah, I seem to remember when I very first listened to your podcast, you were interviewing I wish I could remember his name, the singer of Wheatus, is it?
Brendan. Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, that was a really cool interview, actually, and it was really good to see the insight that he gave you about Teenage Dirtbag and how the success outweighed the amount they could physically sell.
Yeah.
Because physical
And that's
CDs
still
and
the
stuff.
case now, because they've had a hell of a 2025.
Yeah.
They played many stadiums supporting very, very big bands.
Yeah. That must have been a good person to have on
He
your
as
roster.
well, before we actually press record, he was like, I do not care how long this takes. I'm not just going to suddenly vanish. I've booked you in for the afternoon. And that means quite a lot, because there's a lot of people that I've spoken
so much
to.
behind them, you know.
As soon as that, like, you've got 10 minutes remaining on Zoom appears, people almost start checking out. And I'm like, oh, fucking, no, that might be the last time I ever get to speak to you. And I love you. In terms of extravagant as well, speaking out loud, I think the comedian Papa Glitch,
Right.
he was a fantastic guest, and it was one of the first times I'd ever actually spoken to a comedian. And he had like puppets, and it was all pretty funny. And there was a point in the episode where I actually started crying laughing.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And I feel like sometimes this podcast is quite serious, and I don't ever mean it to be. But sometimes you need to mix a bit of lightheartedness and a bit of comedy in it.
Yeah, very much so.
But that ultimately depends on the guest, and sometimes it depends on the way I structure my questions, which, you know, that's the way it goes sometimes.
Indeed.
So yeah, last question for you. And I'm aware that you're a British person and you might not have the answer to this, but I'm going to let you really think about this.
Okay.
What are 2 things about you that you really like?
Well, fuck.
We'll be right back.
Oh, goodness me. Well, I like that I'm laid back. I like that I can be laid back even in situations that that almost try and force me to not be, you know.
Yeah.
And my New Year's resolution last year was to not let things that are out of my control affect me as much as they do. And I know that's
So easy to say, though, isn't it?
Yeah, so easy to say, but I like my New Year's resolutions to be a bit more holistic than just I'll go to the gym every day or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, my New Year's resolution the year before that was accept more free stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just a case of I do enjoy the fact that I can keep a cool head in a lot of scenarios that would sometimes make others just completely lose it, and I've been able to channel that quite well even when things have really hit the fucking wall.
Yeah.
It's a case of other than that, you know, as a traditional musician, there's not much I do like about myself. But I do enjoy my musicality. I enjoy my ability to work well in the youth service and connect with young people. And I think that my work in the youth service has been really good, actually. So my abilities of being a community advocate and being a part of that is also something I really like about myself, I suppose. A compassionate, laid-back human being that will talk to the young people of our community like the human beings that they are, you know.
I think you're a very bright light and a very positive soul.
I try my best.
And sometimes this world can feel quite dark and isolated, and music can become quite insular. And a lot of people now record at home, and they're kind of scared to bring the music out and show a roommate or a housemate or a family member because they might get shot down. But I hope that you continue doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And it's very appreciated, and I can tell that you're making a difference.
Yay.
So thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, keep it positive.
Always.
Because every time I give you a negative, you try and spin it around. And it's one of the best / worst things about you. Because sometimes I just want to be fucking bleak, Ross. I just want the world to burn.
Yeah, well,
and you won't let it.
Well,
so thank you.
Working with people like Sandwich with Rossco and Co has helped a lot with that, because he likes to do very similar things. Bless him, he's a very lovely human being, but also glass half empty sometimes, and it's you know. But also at the same time, he picks me up quite a lot. But you know, just sometimes you could give him the best news ever, and it would just be like, oh fuck.
But yeah, did you quickly want to promote any gigs with the Barry Manilow tribute band? Do you know any off the top of your head, apart from the one at the Pavilion you mentioned earlier to
Yes,
me? You know that
so
date, don't you?
April the 17th, we will be at the Weymouth Pavilion. That's going to be my hometown show for the project. I don't actually remember any of the other dates on the specific venues, but I do know that one. So yeah, definitely that for Copacabana Magic. And also, this might be a good time to say that Rossco and Co will be returning to the Bay Theatre for our 5th year of existing, or to mark the start of our 5th year of existing. That will be the 27th of March this year, and this is the first time I've mentioned it, but the poster will be going out soon. And we'll also be supported by 5 local young bands that are just starting their career, and hopefully we'll get to see an insight into the future of our music scene.
So is that the 27th of March?
Correct.
So what's that in terms
That's
of...
a Thursday, so
okay.
this is always the case at the Bay Theatre. We can only ever do Thursdays. They never do Fridays or Saturdays because they have other things that they do on those days, which is always pretty hardcore for us. But at the same time, this works really well with my touring schedule with Copacabana Magic this year. So it will be a Thursday, but it's never a late one. So definitely, when you see the tickets, go get them.
Yeah. Fair enough. I'm glad that you found a way to make all of this coexist and work as well, because there's nothing worse than constantly having to pick something up and put it down. And...
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so I have to really go with my employers on this one and thank them for being so flexible with me. A lot of my youth work employers, particularly Tom at Steps, has been very flexible with the nights I work. I've moved from Friday nights to Monday nights, which was a big move for the club, for me, and they did that for me because they know I'm doing a lot of touring this year. So I really appreciate that and the flexibility of my bosses across all of my jobs for this to be able to happen.
Awesome. Finally, my Patreon's going to be back up and running soon. I need to do some work on it. I need to figure out the perks because I'm kind of just a guy that
Silly
talks
band
into a
album.
microphone. Yeah. But one thing I will say, I would be very, very appreciative if you guys can donate to the PayPal campaign, because my laptop probably has about 3 weeks left before it dies.
I've seen it. If that.
And I'm very poor, which is odd considering I work full time and I don't bum off the state.
That's
But,
not odd at all.
you know,
It's 2026, man. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
you can work 7 jobs and still
So
barely
yeah,
afford it.
if you are still listening to this, please consider donating. I think you can donate like £1.
Boom.
So yeah, thanks for watching. This has been really fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we made this happen.
Indeed.
And I'm glad
be
that I
back.
could just give you a lift here
Yeah.
and
that's
just
all
take all of the guesswork out of everything.
Yep. Always a winner.
And shout out to McDonald's down the road for sorting us out with some sustenance before we recorded.
Huzzah!
So yeah, thanks for watching. Keep it bedlam and piss off.
Yay.